Hey, this is Christy. Thanks for watching and welcome if you're new. Um, I'm going to share today an experience that I had yesterday that has to do with wolf, the spirit wolf, and also it feels to me like it really speaks to something that's happening in the collective very powerfully right now, and very powerfully. And in fact, I'm feeling a lot of fear around even just getting this out. So that to me really um, points to this is something that needs to get out, and so I'm hoping that it will help, especially if you are if you're dealing with any kind of twin flame issues, any kind of inner masculine or feminine. So whether or not you feel like you're a twin flame doesn't matter. Like, we all have that within us, the masculine, the feminine, and they need to work together. So this is definitely speaking to that. Okay, so before we start, I'm sharing a painting that I did several years back. It's not one that I really particularly liked when I did it, and not one I would necessarily put on my wall or turn into a print or anything. But I think it carries some of the energy that the experience had and that the message has. So that's why I'm choosing this one. And by the way, just as an aside, if you do feel called to do creative work of any time, never denigrate the creative work that comes out of you. Because even if it's not something that you really think is aesthetically pleasing, there's a reason that it's coming out, even if it's just to flush up something out of you, right? We clear through our creative work. And some of them are just meant to be burned or destroyed, and that's okay. You get, there's an empowerment that comes with that even too. So, so even if something, just don't like put down the creative work that you do, even if you don't feel like you like it. All right, so moving forward, here's what happened last night. I was going out to the woods with my dog, and I was going to go to my normal, like a usual trail that I often go to, but there were just a lot of cars parked there, which isn't typical. So I went a little bit further down the road and kind of way back in the woods into a different trail that I've actually been frequenting a little bit more often lately. And so I go out, and it's by this little lake, and start down the lake, and I'm really kind of called to go out onto the lake. It's frozen right now. And we just go out there, and then, because a lot of times when I feel that call, it's like, oh, it takes me someplace and I have an experience or something. And we got way out there, and it's like, this is a dead end. It's like, there's nothing out here for me. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll turn around, go back, and almost back to shore. And I just realized, oh, well, that was a sort of a time killer to make sure that I was in the right place at the right time. This is the message that kind of came through around this. So it's like, fine, go back onto the shore. And at that point I was debating, should I just go home? Because I didn't really want to go up the hill, and I didn't really want to walk on the other trails, but something was calling me up the hill. So I was like, okay, fine. So there's this great big hill that the trail goes up. And so I start up that, and I'm pondering some of the things that have been kind of going down in my life lately. And a lot of it has to do with this whole masculine, feminine balance energy. So I'm just kind of meditating on that going up the hill. And we get almost to the top. And I look up, and there is this animal that's crossing the trail about maybe 100 yards ahead of us. And I look at it as like, is that a wolf? And I don't know if it was a wolf or not. I mean, more likely, just to be honest, it was probably more likely a coyote, maybe even somebody's dog, but it wasn't it wasn't moving like a dog, and it was built kind of heavy, a little heavier than most coyotes I've seen. So again, whether or not it's a wolf, it sort of had that wolf at least the wolf spirit was with it. Okay, so it crosses very determined from left to right towards the north. And so we get up to where it crossed, and I just stop, and I'm just tuning into, because it was like, this is, for whatever reason, I'm meant to have this experience. And so I'm tuning into, well, let's see if Wolf has something to tell me. What do I need to know here? What do you want me to know? So I tune into Wolf. And my dog, by the way, is like, she's super anxious. She's like going crazy. She's whining. She's like, let's get out of here. So it was really kind of hard to tune in. But then the first thing that Wolf showed me was, it was like I was seeing through the eyes of a frog, like split vision. Okay. So as if it was like I was seeing half underwater and half above water. And it didn't really show me anything particular except that the split, right? The split vision. And then after that, I asked Wolf to tell me more and maybe clarify that. And he showed me that, and there was something kind of foreboding about this whole thing. Like I said, I didn't really want to go up the hill. There were a lot of ravens, and it was getting just not quite dusk, but it was starting to get a little darker. And there's something about the wolf, even when I tuned into him, he was like just very determined. And there was a certain darkness, like not that he himself was like dark, but there was a certain cloud around him, right? Like he's, I don't know, just like preoccupied or something. He's got something that he needs to deal with, something that he needs to do. So I was asking him for clarity, and he's like, I'm going in this direction, and don't follow me. He's like, stay, anchor, and ground, and you're not to follow. So I was like, okay. And I turned around and went back down the hill. Now, I need to preface this with, I've been really, at the suggestion of a mentor, sitting with the Divine Feminine quite strongly for a couple of weeks now. Every morning, night at least, and throughout the day, really coming back to, especially working with Mother Mary, right? So I'm really like got that kind of Divine Feminine with me right now. And as I'm going down the hill, first of all, my dog's like freaking out and she keeps wanting to run ahead. And I'm like, you know what? I can't let her do that. So I was sort of like the whole way down, I had to really exercise that kind of leadership and tell her, stay behind me. And she did, but she was like freaked. But I was feeling into, okay, what does this message mean from Wolf? And what I'm getting is, and I've been kind of, this really ties into some of the work that I've been doing with people in my community and with clients and with relationships. And there's a lot coming up around sovereignty and around kind of the divine masculine, that ability to the leadership, the taking charge, the commanding your destiny, your own, creating your own life. It's that sense of captaining your own ship, taking charge, and also being autonomous. So there's been a lot from all directions around that. That's been a huge thing coming up. And what I was getting from this experience when tuning into it was, this was like divine masculine here. The wolf. Wolf is Pathfinder. He's guide. I see Wolf as a very masculine spirit animal, and he's also protector. And I see Wolf as having a lot to do with leadership. And so here's Wolf, and to me, that's like the divine masculine. And first he's showing me a split. Okay, so this could kind of reflect in a lot of different ways depending on who you are, who you have relationship with, where you are in your relationships. So for some people, it might indicate an actual split or breakup, like with maybe a karmic partner, that the divine masculine, the masculine has to step away from that and set those boundaries and set his course clear. It could have to do with it may not be kind of, it could be in business. It could be stepping onto your own path, right? Splitting from maybe quitting a job, maybe taking your business in a different direction. Like, because you can interpret this in for a lot of different parts of the life, right? Or it could just simply be the divine masculine within oneself, saying, look, I need to draw some boundaries here, draw some lines, and separate myself, right? Or separating oneself and being very clear on what's yours and what's yours to pursue and what's not, and just leaving behind whatever's not, really in alignment with who you are, with what you want, with your higher purpose. Okay, so that's all of this stuff. And so I'm getting a few messages in both for the divine feminine and for the divine masculine as to how to support this, because I'm feeling this is something that is really coming forward as needing to happen. We're looking at the divine masculine starting to step into his power, and we need that because there's been a lot of, like, the divine feminine right now is really stepping forward, which is totally needed, totally beautiful, but like she can't step forward in all her power without the divine masculine being in his power, and vice versa, right? They need each other. For the kundalini to rise, both of those need to be, they're intertwined, right? They need to step forward together. The divine feminine's been making great strides forward, and it's like divine masculine now, like he's gotta move forward now, or it's just not gonna he's not gonna be supporting her the way she needs it, or guiding her actually the new way she needs, right? So this is really, really kind of an important development, and I'm seeing it happen in the collective, like amongst the light worker community. So first of all, speaking to the divine feminine within each one of us, and I want to be clear that, in some cases, this may play out as a particular person takes that role of the divine masculine or the divine feminine at this time and plays that role, maybe in a particular relationship or something, but we all have both within us. So at the same time, this is happening within each of us. Any of you who are like resonating with this, it's happening with you as an individual. Both of these are working together. So speaking first to that divine feminine element, it's time to go all in with support and faith and trust in our masculines, to have faith that they have the power and the inner guidance, that they've got their own inner guidance to follow, that they that trust them to move forward, trust them. It's if it's time for them awaken, they're going to be doing it, and they don't like they don't need us to do it for them, right? What needs to happen is that divine feminine in us, they need us to anchor, right? Stay anchor and ground. That means just holding space, giving them space to do what they need to do, kind of not trying to direct where they go, allowing them to move on if they need to move on, not hanging on them emotionally, not, trying to tell them what to do, simply trusting, holding that faith that they will figure it out, right? That they'll do it, that they've got the power, that they're going to be victorious. And in some cases, that may mean letting particular instances of the divine masculine, just let them go. Maybe there's another one that you're meant to work with instead, or ones, whatever, right? But it's simply just trusting that in whatever form the divine masculine is going to come back to you, allow it, right? Don't try to dictate how it looks. But holding that faith and holding that unconditional love is very, very important. Some of the archetypes that, maybe a couple different archetypes I would maybe suggest would be very, very helpful this time. First of all, not like the feminine warrior, the divine feminine warrior. There's time and place for her. And we've just come out of a period where she was really active. This is not the time and place for divine feminine warrior. So, like, I personally am telling my feminine warrior, like, go take a bath and go put on your priestess robes and hold vigil. Because that's the kind of, like, the warrior can turn into a priestess, and that's what's needing to happen at this point. I mean, she can become a warrior at some point, but right now, it's really more like purification, a lot of that stuff going on, and holding space, holding vigil. So any of the kind of divine mother can be helpful, but let's not, but really kind of holding space, not thinking of this divine masculine as a helpless being. Okay, he's powerful, he's virile, right? And because I think that's happened in the collective, in society, in the past few decades, is this pushing down of the masculine and emasculating him, kind of turning him back into a baby. And there's a lot of instances where we talk about locker room talk with men. Well, there's locker room talk with women, and it's not pretty. It's really sort of like, putting down men. And it really needs to stop, in my opinion, because it emasculates. It takes the power away from the masculine, and we need that masculine power, right? It's sort of like, you don't want to go to bed with a child. That'd be sick, right? And it wouldn't be any fun anyway. Right? So let's let that masculine be powerful and not feel like we need to fix him. He doesn't need to be fixed. He needs to be held space for and honored and trusted, right? Holding space also means, like, not being aware of. It does not mean putting up with, like, the dark masculine, which is forcing, right? So holding space as a divine feminine means being very, very aware and setting your own boundaries as a strong divine feminine. It does not mean being a pushover at all. It does not mean, being a victim at all, at all, at all. It makes you feel icky or unclean, or if you're feeling bulldozed, like you have to expend a lot of energy to deal with this masculine, then that's not divine masculine. And, just be aware of that, because you don't have to hold space for that. All right, so this is really requiring both masculine and feminine to stand in their power, to set their boundaries, and also to have faith with each other, right? Okay, so a couple archetypes that would be powerful to sit with would be Mother Mary, maybe Parvati, or perhaps Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, just kind of holding that home space. And I was actually going to create this video last night, but something in my guidance was like, just go to bed. And when I woke up, I was given additional guidance for the divine masculine. And that is, as you move forward, to consider that you're establishing sovereignty. And this, again, is for the divine masculine within each individual, as well as those who embody the masculine. So we're looking at defining sovereignty, becoming sovereign, but what's sovereignty? It's kingship. And that this doesn't necessarily mean rugged individualism. Okay, yes, you need to go on and do this yourself. And yes, you kind of need to do it alone, but not necessarily alone, right? There will be things that you need to do alone, and you will need to make your own decisions. But the idea that we got to do it all ourselves, that's pride. Okay, so if we look at kingship, king always has a circle of wise advisors, like very trusted advisors around him. Okay, a good king, part of what makes a really good leader is choosing the advisors and knowing which advisor to go with and which advisors to listen to. Okay, so what's a good advisor? It's not somebody who's going to be telling you what to do. It's somebody who's going to be strengthening your own decision-making powers. Okay, so this will be people like a good counselor is one who will, he may give you expanded viewpoints. He may expand your perception. He may tell you stories that give you different perspectives on things. And it says he or she, either way. So one that gives you different perspectives and may ask you questions to get you kind of thinking. But he or she is always going to put the final decision back on you. They're not going to try to force you, and they're not going to try to coerce or manipulate you. They're going to show you different perspectives. They may give you tools that you can work with, or suggest tools that you can work with that will help you, to empower you. Think of a king with the or a knight with a squire, with holding this, extra tools, swords, or whatever. They're going to equip you. They're going to empower you. They're going to kind of expand your horizons. And then a couple other things that a good advisor will do. One, they can be a sounding board. So like if you find yourself in a space where you're not sure if it's your guidance or something else, run it by this person or these people. Run it by your inner circle, and they can help you work it out. You don't necessarily want to do that with everything. Sometimes you got to just hammer it out yourself. But if you find yourself going around and around circles, or, if there's something that you keep doing the same pattern over and over, having a trusted advisor as a sounding board can help you to break through those patterns. And then finally, they will sometimes challenge you. And this is really important because one of the downfalls of dark masculine is that, like, what masculine does is it separates, right? Which it's really good at, and that's very important. But sometimes it leads to the masculine can't always see the whole picture. That's more of a feminine quality. And so it tends to lead to fixations sometimes. And so a good advisor will sometimes actually play devil's advocate, or, just bring stuff up that will challenge those fixations or those fixed viewpoints. So be wary of, like, you may get to a point where you want to fire this person. So just be aware of that, and look at this person and see if you can feel into, do they really have your best interest? Do you feel the love there? Or does it feel like they're kind of trying to manipulate you and make you do something, right? Because there's a difference. There's, a person who truly loves you will sometimes draw the line, and they're not always going to go along with you. Because face it, we're all human, and we all, go down wrong paths. And a good advisor is going to just kind of pull on your sleeve if they see that you're going down a bad path. Or they may just kind of play the devil's advocate if they're not sure. They may not be sure. And so this is going to really ask you to, first of all, to listen and consider all viewpoints, and then make your decision. Okay, just because they're contesting you does not mean that they're right, but it also doesn't mean that you're right? So this is like this, what they do is they bring you to these points where you have to really look at the bigger picture and consider from all angles. But ultimately, they're going to encourage you to make your own decision based on, what's available to you. So as you move forward, if you get to any point where you don't know what direction to take, or you're not sure, know that there is support for you, that, there will be counselors and advisors coming forward. You need to trust your inner guidance as to which ones you feel you can trust, and, choose those ones that are going to empower you and trust that you have the wisdom to make your own decisions. But trust in that, like, if you find yourself like not wanting to listen to anybody, be aware that is like one of the downfalls of masculine, is to fall into that, like, I can do it all myself kind of thing, right? And that will tend to often lead to entrapment, or accident, that kind of thing. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful. To sum it up, we're looking at, for the divine feminine to really sit back, hold the home space, and have faith and trust in the ability of the masculine to do what he needs to do to move forward and step into leadership. And for masculines to, have the courage to do that, and know that you're supported, and to, be willing to listen to wise counsel and recognize what wise counsel is, that it's going to be you're in charge, right? And finally, I'm going to leave you with a story, another story from my personal life, which illustrates just the healing power that the masculine has when he goes forward and just does his thing. My dad last summer was diagnosed with advanced stage 4 prostate cancer, and he's in his 80s, and he was going in to the Veterans Hospital and so forth, and they were like, well, we got to do chemo on you, we got to do this and that. And he's looking into that, and basically he's telling me, like, it like it emasculates you. Like, okay. And that really riled him up. He's like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to look at whatever alternatives I can and find a different way to heal, because he's looking at this conventional medicine. He's like, it just tears apart the body, and that's not healing. And so he's a researcher. He was a mathematician by profession, and so he just went and did all this research on holistic and alternative cancer therapies. And he decided he found some things that people were doing, and he started this extreme fasting routine and altered his diet and did really long fasts. And he's been doing this for months, and it's been interesting because there's been like a lot of, I think, pushback within the family, at least. And I don't know, maybe some friends of his are supporting him. I don't know what support he's getting elsewhere, but I was like the only person in the family that was not like, he's crazy. He's was not looking at him like he's crazy or he's going to hurt himself. Right. So I was like, go, Dad, go. Right. And in fact, he kind of inspired me to do some diet alterations and sort of semi-fasting on my own, which has been helpful for myself. But he went on and he just forged ahead and did his thing. And he just he just stopped in to my place a couple days ago with this paper in hand, and he's like, look at these numbers. He had just had the numbers run. And he's like, I wasn't hoping for anything near this. His numbers were like normal. And, he just followed his path. He, I just feel like he kind of embodied the divine masculine and the healing power that can come out of that. So I just wanted to share that just as an incentive to know that, this is something we can trust our masculines to do, and it is healing. It's very healing. All right, so hope this has been helpful, and I encourage you to like, share, subscribe, if this calls to you, and I would love your comments, because I think if you have insights that can add to this, or even challenge it, like the dialogue really helps. So if you've found this helpful in any way, just please do comment below. And I look forward to seeing what you think as well. Have a lovely day, and we'll catch you again later.